Breakfast was meant to be simple, coffee in hand, warm sunlight spilling through the blinds, the quiet shuffle of a newspaper. But that morning, my father leaned back in his chair, smiling in a way that made my blood run cold, and said, "I have a surprise for you." He slid an envelope across the table as if it were a gift. My hand shook as I tore it open. Inside were pages of debt contracts, numbers stacking higher than I could comprehend. 900,000. "It must be paid by Monday," he said, his voice flat, almost casual, as though he were simply asking me to pass the butter. I whispered, "No." His smile vanished. The coffee cup in his hand tipped, scalding liquid spilling across my skin. The burn was sharp, immediate, just as his roar filled the kitchen. "Get out." An hour later, the police arrived. But I already knew this was only the beginning. The war I never wanted had started. I sat there, heart pounding, burnt coffee bitter on my lips. The envelope lay on the table like a ticking bomb, its contents scattered, contracts, loan agreements, figures so high they blurred together. $900,000. Almost $1 million. My father leaned back, arms crossed, his expression icy. "Pick them up," he said. "Look closely. Every signature, every detail. It's all in order." I gathered the papers with trembling hands, scanning line after line. Credit card statements, loans, a mortgage I'd never seen before. Every page carried a signature identical to mine. The same loops, the same hurried strokes. "This isn't possible," I whispered. "I never signed these." He smirked, sipping the last of his coffee. "Memory fades, Sarah. Stress makes people forget. You probably signed them and tucked them away. But they're real. And they're yours." I slammed the papers down, hands shaking with rage. "Stop. Don't twist this on me. I know what I've signed. And it's not this. 900,000. I don't even make that in 10 years. His voice hardened. "Family debts belong to family. You live here. You've always depended on me. Now it's your turn to carry the weight." "Carry the weight?" I repeated, throat tight. "I've carried your weight for years. Running errands, covering bills you forgot, defending you when people whispered about your gambling. And this is how you repay me." For a moment, his eyes flickered, anger, shame, or calculation. Then he leaned forward, elbows on the table, voice low and sharp. "I don't care what you think. What matters is the debt. If it isn't paid by Monday, the collectors come. They'll take everything, the house, your car, your job. You'll lose it all." His words sank into me like ice water. This wasn't a request. It was a threat. "You can't drag me down with you," I said, voice breaking. "Oh, but I can," he said, shoving the envelope toward me, the edge scraping my wrist. "You think you're better than me? You think you can just walk away while I drown? No, you'll sink with me. Unless you do what's right. I laughed, bitter. "Since when is fraud right? Since when is ruining your daughter's life justified?" He slammed his hand on the table, rattling the dishes. "Enough. Either you find the money, or you'll wish you had. Understand me?" I stared at him, heart hammering. The man across from me wasn't my father anymore. He was a stranger wearing his face, ready to sacrifice me to save himself. I tried to steady my breath, but the kitchen seemed to shrink, walls pressing closer. His glare followed me like a shadow. "I'm not paying a dime," I said, voice firm, even as my hands trembled. "This isn't mine. I won't be manipulated." He laughed, sharp and hollow. "Manipulated? You've always been ungrateful. I gave you everything. And now, when I need help, you spit in my face. Help," I snapped. "You're trying to pin your mistakes on me. That's not help. That's betrayal." His eyes narrowed. "Careful, Sarah. You're not as innocent as you think. Who else had access to my files? Who else knew the answers to my security questions? Who else could have signed those papers?" "You're accusing me?" My chest tightened. He slammed a finger on the documents. "Those signatures, they're forged," I shouted. "Anyone can copy handwriting." He leaned in, breath smelling of coffee and cigarettes. "Forged 37 times, loans, casinos, credit apps. Do you expect anyone to believe you?" I stumbled back, clutching my burned arm. His eyes gleamed. He was enjoying this, pushing me into a corner. "You've been careless," he said coldly. "Living here, relying on me. Maybe you racked up these debts. Now you're scared to admit it." "I've never gambled a dime," I snapped. "I don't know anything." "This is your doing." "Prove it," he sneered. "Go to court. Tell them Daddy forged your name. They'll laugh you out of the room. Those papers say otherwise. And when the collectors come, they don't care who signed them. Only whose name is in ink." His words cut deeper than the burn on my skin. For years, he lectured me about loyalty and family. Now he twisted those lessons into weapons. "Family doesn't destroy each other," I whispered. He heard me, jaw tight, voice a dangerous growl. "Family survives together. Refuse to pay and you turn your back on me. You'll regret it, Sarah." The silence afterward was worse than his yelling. Each tick of the clock hammered home the truth. He had chosen his path, and he expected me to follow or be crushed. A chilling thought crept in. Maybe he'd do worse than throw coffee. Maybe I wasn't safe in my own home. The envelope sat between us like a weapon. His eyes never left mine, cold and unwavering. I wanted to look away, to pretend it wasn't happening. But the burn on my chest screamed the truth. "No," I said, steadier than I felt. "I won't pay a debt that isn't mine." His jaw clenched. He swirled his coffee, thinking. For a moment, I thought he might relent. But then he stood, looming over me. "You think you can walk away from this? From me? You're my daughter. You'll do what I tell you." "I'm your daughter, not your pawn," I shot back. "Stop pretending this is about family. This is about your greed, your lies, your addictions." Something snapped. His nostrils flared, hands trembling. And then violence. In one sudden motion, he hurled the coffee straight at me. A scalding liquid splashed across my neck and chest, soaking through the thin fabric of my blouse. The pain hit instantly, sharp and merciless, like flames licking my skin. I screamed, stumbling backward, clawing at my shirt as the hot liquid clung stubbornly. "Jesus, Dad!" I gasped, tears welling up. "What the hell is wrong with you?" He didn't flinch. His face wasn't twisted with guilt, but with a cold, grim satisfaction. "Maybe now you'll understand how serious I am," he growled. I pressed a napkin against my chest, but it was useless. The burns were already forming, angry red patches rising on my skin. My breaths came in ragged gasps, my body trembling between fury and pain. "You just assaulted me," I spat. "Your own daughter. Do you even hear yourself?" He slammed his fist onto the table, rattling dishes. "Don't lecture me. You think you're righteous, pure. But when Monday comes and they take this house, you'll wish you'd listened." I backed toward the doorway, instinct screaming at me to run. "If you think hurting me will make me obey, you're insane." His lips curled into a cruel smile. "Insane? No, Sarah. I'm desperate. And desperate men do desperate things." His words chilled me more than the burn on my skin. It hit me then, he wasn't bluffing. He wasn't trying to scare me. He was ready to destroy me. Physically, financially, emotionally, just to save himself. For a moment, the kitchen fell silent, except for the ticking clock and my own ragged breaths. His eyes bore into me, daring me to defy him again. "I won't do it," I whispered, my voice trembling but resolute. "I'd rather lose everything than sell my soul to cover your sins." His face darkened, veins standing out at his temple. He grabbed the empty cup and hurled it against the wall. It shattered, ceramic shards scattering across the linoleum. "Then get out," he roared, pointing toward the door. "Get out of my house and don't come back." His words cut deeper than the burns. I had nowhere else to go. No plan, no protection. Yet standing there, trembling and blistered, one truth became clear. If I stayed, he'd break me. If I left, maybe, just maybe, I had a chance to fight back. So I turned and walked away, his curses echoing behind me, each one a nail sealing the coffin of the relationship we once had. For the first time, I realized my father wasn't my protector. He was my enemy. The door slammed behind me with a violence that shook me to my core. I stumbled down the porch steps, clutching my chest where the burn still throbbed with every heartbeat. The October air was sharp, biting at my raw skin, but it was nothing compared to the fire he'd left behind. For a moment, I just stood there, trembling, staring at the house I had once called safe. The curtains in the kitchen shifted. He was still inside, pacing like a caged animal, muttering to himself, I couldn't go back. Not now. Maybe not ever. My legs moved before my mind did, carrying me across the lawn toward the weathered fence separating us from Robert's house. He'd been my neighbor for years, a retired history teacher, kind, gentle, always humming while tending his garden. Our conversations had been polite, forgettable. I never imagined I'd be running to his door like a frightened refugee. I knocked hard, my hand shaking so violently it rattled the glass pane. The door opened, and Robert's face appeared, framed by the warm glow of his kitchen. His expression shifted immediately when he saw me. My disheveled hair, the scorch marks on my blouse, the panic in my eyes. Sarah, he said, his voice tight with concern. What happened to you? My throat closed, the words lodged inside me. Finally I managed, I need help. He stepped aside without hesitation. Come in. Sit down. The warmth of his home enveloped me, a stark contrast to the icy emptiness I had just left. He guided me to the table, handed me a towel, and brought a glass of water. My hands trembled so badly I almost spilled it. Who did this? He asked quietly, eyes fixed on the red blotches peeking over my collar. I looked down, unable to meet his gaze. My father, I said flatly. He threw coffee at me and says I owe him almost $1 million. Robert's brows drew together in disbelief. That's insane. You know that, right? Tears blurred his face. I don't know what's real anymore. He had papers, signatures, everything looked like mine. He says, if I don't pay by Monday, we'll lose everything. Robert's voice hardened, the teacher's authority rising. Sarah, listen to me. That's fraud. That's abuse. You cannot go back there. I buried my face in my hands, sobs shaking me. But he's my dad. How do I call the police on my own father? Robert's hand rested gently on my shoulder. Right now. Sarah, he's not acting like a father. He's acting like a criminal. And if you don't protect yourself, no one else will. His words echoed in my mind. He's acting like a criminal, but a small voice inside me pushed back. He's still your father. The two truths collided inside me, tearing me apart. I pressed the towel against my burns, staring at the steam rising from Robert's mug of tea. The smell reminded me of home, of safety, but my own kitchen no longer offered that comfort. It hadn't for a long time. The memories came in waves. The first loan for years ago. He'd called me into his study, the air thick with cigar smoke, papers scattered across the desk. Just sign here, he said, sliding a document toward me. It's a small loan, nothing serious, just to bridge a gap until payday. I was 27, still naive enough to trust him. He smiled, telling me it was routine, families helping each other. I signed. That loan grew, piling on late fees I didn't see coming. Then came the guilt trips. You're all I have, Sarah. Since your mother passed, it's just been us. I'd cave every time. I thought I was protecting him, keeping him afloat. But in reality, he was dragging me deeper into his debts. He gradually isolated me, making sure it was only us. Friends, family, they didn't understand, he said. Slowly, my world shrank until all I saw was him, his needs, his problems, the red flags. The gambling was the worst-kept secret. Nights he disappeared, returning smelling of whiskey and desperation. Casino chips in his pockets, credit card statements tucked under newspapers. When I asked, he snapped, "Don't pry. I'm handling it." But he wasn't. He never was. The betrayal cut deeper when I discovered he'd taken money from my savings. I confronted him, shaking with rage. "You stole from me." I shouted. He didn't deny it. "Borrowed," he corrected. "Don't be dramatic. You're young. You'll make it back." The hurt was raw, but when he collapsed into a coughing fit, clutching his chest, I dropped the fight. He fetched his medicine, as always knowing exactly how to manipulate me. Fast forward to now, sitting in Robert's kitchen, memories stacked up in my mind like falling dominoes, each one a reminder of how long I'd been enabling my own undoing. Robert poured more tea, his gaze steady on me. He's been seeing this all along, hasn't he? I nodded, my throat tight. Yes, I kept convincing myself it was temporary, that he'd change, that if I just tried harder, he would stop. Robert leaned in, voice calm but firm. But he never did stop. And he never will. People like that don't change unless someone forces them to. I closed my eyes, feeling the truth pressed down like a weight I could no longer ignore. My father hadn't turned dangerous overnight. Piece by piece, lie by lie, debt by debt, he had been leading me here all along. And finally I saw it for what it was, not love, not loyalty, but a trap. Robert's voice cut through my spiraling thoughts. Sarah, this ends tonight. You can't let him keep doing this to you. Before I could respond, he picked up his phone and dialed 911. His words were calm, precise. Professional domestic assault, hot coffee burns, fraudulent documents, threats. Hearing it aloud made it feel real, far more than the pain burning across my chest. 15 minutes later, red and blue lights splashed across Robert's driveway. 2 officers stepped out, a woman with streaks of gray threading through her dark hair, badge glinting under the porch light, and a younger man moving with sharp, alert precision. Sarah, the woman said, calm but commanding. I'm Officer Martinez. This is Officer Chen. We understand you were assaulted. I nodded, tugging at my collar to reveal the angry red marks spreading across my chest and neck. Martinez's eyes narrowed. Chen lifted his camera and snapped photos. Can you tell us what happened? Martinez asked, notebook ready. My voice shook, but I forced the words out. My father, he threw scalding coffee on me. Then he said I owed him $900,000 in debts I never agreed to. When I refused, he threatened me. Robert spoke up, steady and unwavering, recounting how I had rushed to his door moments later. Martinez's eyes flicked toward my house. Is he still inside? She asked. Yes, I whispered, the word tasting like ash. Chen's hand hovered near his radio. We'll need to separate the parties and secure the scene. Ma'am, can you come with us? I followed them across the yard, every step heavier than the last. My house loomed ahead, windows glowing like the eyes of a predator. Chen knocked sharply. Police, open up. A pause. Then the door creaked. My father stood there, feigning confusion, his face twisting into a mask of faux innocence. What's this about? He asked smoothly. Is there a problem? Martinez's tone was sharp. Sir, we received a report of domestic assault and fraudulent documents. We need to ask you some questions. He scoffed, stepping back. Assault? Fraud? My daughter's hysterical, always overreacting. I clenched my fists. Tell them about the envelope, Dad. Show them the papers. For a flicker of a moment, his mask slipped. Then he smirked. What envelope? But the officers had already entered, scanning the kitchen. The table was littered with documents, coffee stains dark against the linoleum, evidence he hadn't hidden. Chen picked up a stack, flipping through the pages. These are all in her name, signed multiple times. My father's voice rose, sharp and defensive. Exactly. They're hers. She's lying to cover her gambling. Gambling? I shouted. I've never gambled in my life. The officers exchanged a look, silently acknowledging a familiar story. Martinez's voice was steady as stone. Sir, we'll need you to step outside while we process the scene. His glare burned into me as Chen guided him toward the door. You'll regret this, Sarah, he hissed. Blood is thicker than water, but you've just poisoned your own family. I trembled, but for the first time that night, I felt empowered. The truth was out and I had witnesses. The courthouse smelled of polished wood and old paper, a place where lives could be rebuilt or destroyed with a single verdict. I sat at the plaintiff's table, palms damp, knees bouncing under the desk. Across from me, my father lounged, a false calm masking his unease, eyes darting like a man pretending control he didn't have. The judge, a stern woman named Patricia Collins, struck her gavel. We are here today to hear the matter of alleged fraud, domestic assault, and identity theft. Mr. John Miller, you stand accused. Miss Sarah Miller, you are the complainant. Let us proceed. My lawyer, Miss Grant, rose first. Her voice was sharp, confident. Your Honor, the evidence is undeniable. 37 forged documents bearing my client's signature, totaling $900,000 in fraudulent debt. We will also present photographic evidence of physical assault inflicted by the defendant on his own daughter. She handed over exhibits, copies of the fraudulent debts, high-resolution photos of my burns, and the police report Martinez had written that night. Judge Collins glanced at them, brow furrowed. "Thank you, counselor. Mr. Miller, your response?" My father stood, posture deceptively steady. "Your Honor, these accusations are outrageous. My daughter has always been reckless with money. She had signed those papers herself, yet tried to pin the fault on me. And the so-called assault? She spilled the coffee on herself in a fit of rage. I would never, ever hurt my child." My hands clenched beneath the table as lies spilled from his mouth as easily as breathing. Miss Grant's voice sharpened. "If that's true, then why do multiple handwriting experts confirm these signatures are forged?" My father's jaw twitched. "Experts can be bought." "And why?" she pressed. "Was the envelope with these documents not found on your kitchen table? Why did you demand payment by Monday?" His voice cracked, rising with anger. "Because she owes me loyalty. After all I've sacrificed, she dares stand here and destroy me." The judge slammed her gavel. "Control yourself, Mr. Miller." I could feel every eye in the courtroom pressing down on me. My moment had come. Miss Grant gave me a gentle nod, and I rose. My knees shook, but my voice, though trembling, was my own. "Your Honor, I have never borrowed this money. I've never gambled. I've never signed a loan anywhere near this amount. My father has manipulated me for years, using guilt, threats, and isolation to control me. But this," I held up the forged papers, my hands shaking. "This is the ultimate betrayal." I faced him directly. "You threw scalding coffee at me when I refused. You tried to ruin me, to trap me. You stopped being my father the moment you decided I was disposable." His face contorted with rage. "How dare you?" he shouted. "After everything I've done for you, you humiliate me in public? You're nothing without me." Gasps rippled through the courtroom. The gavel fell again. "Order." Miss Grant calmly slid forward another piece of evidence. Screenshots. Gambling records tied to accounts opened under my father's name, but funded with my information. "These, Your Honor," she explained, "show where the debts originated. Illegal casino markers. Not my client, her father." My father lunged, voice raw with fury. "She's lying. She's framing me because she wants the house. She wants everything I built." I stood taller, heart racing. "You didn't build anything. You stole. You lied. And you used me as your safety net. I'm done paying for your sins." Whispers rose like a tide through the courtroom. Judge Collins raised her hand, silencing everyone. Her voice was sharp and resolute. "The evidence speaks for itself. Forged signatures, testimony, photographs, financial records all point to deliberate fraud and assault. Mr. Miller, your actions today only confirm this. This court finds probable cause to charge John Miller with fraud, identity theft, and domestic battery. Bail is denied. You will be remanded into custody until trial." The gavel cracked sharply. Officers moved swiftly. He tried one last desperate plea, turning toward me as they cuffed him. "Sarah, you can't do this. I'm your father. Blood is blood." Tears stung my eyes, but I held firm. Blood doesn't excuse betrayal. They led him out, his shouts echoing down the hall until the doors closed. I sank back, body trembling, breath ragged. Miss Grant squeezed my shoulder. "You did it," she said. "You stood up." Victory was heavy, not sweet. I had faced my father and survived, but at the cost of burning every bridge tying me to him. Yet, as the courtroom emptied, a strange clarity settled in me. For the first time in years, I was free. The courthouse steps seemed endless as I walked into the cold afternoon air. Reporters swarmed, microphones thrust forward. "How does it feel to testify against your own father? Do you think he'll plead guilty?" I kept my head down, pushing past them. This wasn't their story, it was mine. Robert waited by his car, his calm presence steadying me. "Are you all right?" he asked. I let out a laugh, half sob. "I don't know," I admitted. "But I'm free. For the first time, I'm free." Weeks passed, and the aftermath slowly settled. My father's accounts were frozen, his gambling debts clearly tied to him, not me. The house, once threatened, was secured as my property. For the first time in years, I could breathe without fear. But freedom had its own weight. Nights were hardest, lying awake with his voice echoing in my mind, blood is blood. Guilt crept like smoke through cracks in my thoughts, whispering that I'd betrayed him. Then I'd press my hand to the fading burn scars on my chest and remember he betrayed me first. Robert visited often, bringing groceries, conversation, and calm reminders that healing was strength, not weakness. You've been tested, he said once, and you survived. That makes you stronger. I began reclaiming the house, scrubbing the kitchen floor where coffee had burned me, discarding the shattered cup, repainting walls, and opening curtains wide. Sunlight spilled across the table, and for the first time, it felt like home, not a battlefield. One morning, sipping coffee from a new mug, my phone buzzed. Miss Grant's voice came through. The restitution order came through, she said. He must pay you $15,000 for damages and medical costs once he serves his sentence. The irony made me smile. The man who tried to bury me under $900,000 of debt would now pay me monthly, a reminder of his failure and my survival. I looked around my kitchen. Scarred walls remained, but the silence was mine. The air was lighter. The house was mine. My life was mine. For years, I had been trapped in his shadow, suffocating under debts that weren't mine and guilt I didn't deserve. Now, with him behind bars and the truth exposed, I felt something I hadn't in years, peace. Though part of me would always ache for the father I once believed in, I knew this truth with unwavering certainty. Blood may be thicker than water, but love, respect, and freedom are stronger. If you want to hear more stories of betrayal, survival, and finding your strength, make sure to subscribe to my channel for updates. You won't want to miss what's coming next.